Alright guys, welcome back to Algos Made Simple. Got a Leetcode medium one for you today that I think is very easy, that I think you just do extraordinarily well at. There's just a couple pitfalls, a couple of thoughts you have to keep in your mind here, but it's very simple once you've gone through this once. I don't even really know for sure if you need to do this one twice, but I think once you've done it once, you're going to be pretty much good to go. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. It's Leetcode 271, Encode and Decode Strings. It states, design an algorithm to encode a list of strings to a string. The encoded string is then sent over the network and is decoded back to the original list of strings. Please implement encode and decode. So I let the interviewer know, I understand I'm getting a list of strings, and I just got to encode it to a singular string utilizing some sort of encryption. And then when it's at the center of the network, I need to be able to decode it back out, excluding the encryptions, back to the list of strings. So I understand what's being asked of me. Not a very difficult ask, not a crazy ask here, and something relevant. So let's look at an example here. Let's say our strings were the following. Let's say our list of strings was golf. It had clubs. It had par. And it had birdie. And that was it for there. What we're going to do is we're going to turn that into a singular string where it is golf, clubs, par, birdie, and we need to be able to turn it back out to these strings above here. So it's got to be able to, again, encode and decode. So how are we going to do something like this? Let's pull up our game plan here, and we're looking at, okay, we know everything's going to be put together. There's going to have to be some way. One we know right now we have no encryption, so we're going to need some sort of encryption. We're going to have to encode it somehow. So when we're bringing this string in here to the master string, or however you want to say it, we're going to have to put some sort of encryption with it. We also know that we're going to need to be able to decode it out. So whatever that encryption is, it can't mess up the decoding process, and it can't give us a potential issue on the backside of it or whatever. So with that being said, the first thing you may think of doing, okay, when I bring this thing down, I'm just going to put a random character with it to differentiate these words. So when I decode it out, I'll be able to know exactly where the words are at. So when you're decoding it, we just say, okay, I'm going to look for question marks. Once I have a question mark, I'm going to take those characters as a string until I reach the next question mark. Then I'm going to take those characters as a string until I reach the next question mark, and so on and so forth. And this is somewhat encrypted. Well, that's okay, so we've done it. That's great. The only problem is, what if I had a question mark right here? And this was part of the string that we got passed through. It was birdie with a question mark in it. Well, then I'm going to have golf, clubs, par, and burr, die, two separate strings. So instead of having 4 strings, I'm going to have 5 strings, and 2 of the 5 strings are going to be incorrect strings. So we can't, and that's going to happen with any character, any number that you utilize. Anything could possibly be in these strings. So there's no character that's safe there. So what can we do then? Well, we've got, our biggest problem is we have to find a way on the decode that we're going to be able to know, okay, this is a word, and then this is a word. It's going to be clubs, and it's not club and spar. There's going to have to be some sort of way to differentiate that. How can we do that? Well, what if we passed in the length of the string? So then on the decode, we could take that first digit and say, okay, the next X amount of characters are the string. That's a pretty good plan. But again, the problem is, so let's say we did that. Let's say we had 4 golf, we had 5 clubs, we had 3 par, and we had 6 birdie. That's all well and good. That's great. We pull that 4 out. We'll take the next 4 characters. We'll pull that 5 out. Take the next 5 characters. Pull a 3. Take the next 3. Pull a 6. Take the next 6. Great. Fantastic. Have we solved it? No, you bet we have not. Because what if I had a 5 just hanging out here? So my number here is 6. And I come here and I say, okay, I'm going to take the next 4 characters. Golf. I'm going to take the next 6 characters. Oh, hold on a minute. I've hit a 5. I'm going to take the next 5 characters, and it just messes my whole thing up. I'm hitting numbers because there can be numbers in these. So we're very close, but one thing we need to add is we got to utilize, basically you got to utilize a random character and the length of the string. That's the key to this problem. A random character and the length of the string. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have your random character. I'll put that in here. And what we'll do is we'll have something that says, okay, up until that random character, that's what we want is the number on there. We want to have that. That'll be the number of characters we're going. So even if, so let's go ahead and look at that. So we'd have 4. We'd skip the question mark. We'd take 4 characters. We had 6. Skip the question mark. We'd take 6 characters. Which let's put this 5 back in here. Take 6 characters in there. And it wouldn't matter because we know we're taking 6 characters. We're not looking for digits. We're not looking for integers. We don't care what the characters are. We're just going and taking those. So, and that would be completely fine if this was GO question mark F. It still doesn't matter. That question mark has nothing to do with it now because all the question mark matters is for our integer. Once we've hit the question mark, then we're working with those characters, and we don't care again until we've used all the characters. Then we're going to care again up until the question mark. Look at our characters, care again up until the question mark. Look at our characters, care again up. Okay, so you understand what's going on here. So we're going to utilize our random character and the length of the string. So we know also, just to keep our game plan very simple, the very first function that we have, the encode function, is going to return a string. The decode function is going to return the list back out. Obviously, we talked about this, so no problem there. So let's go ahead. I think it gets very, very simple with the code. So I'm not going to waste any more time just babbling about it. Let's go ahead and get into it. So we got encode, and it takes that list of strings, right? And this is probably this is definitely the easiest part. So you have your resolution. It's that singular string we need to get down to. So now we have that singular string. How can we do that? Well, we're going to add the strings to the string along with the encryption. So we're going to say for s in strings, and we're going to say res, so that's our string, plus equals, so we're adding to that string, and it's going to be, everything has to be a string. It can't be any numbers on here. So we're going to take that number, that length of the string, but we're going to stringify it. So we'll take that length, that 4, and we'll make it into a string so we can concatenate it. And we'll say plus the special character, question mark, plus just the string itself. And when we do that for every string in string, we can simply return the res. We've encoded it. That's all there is to the encryption. We've got encryption on this thing. People are looking at it. They're saying for question mark, go question mark. They can't really pick up on a pattern. And it would be even better if we had, you know, more of these characters or whatever. We could do anything we wanted, but just keeping it simple right now. But that's your basic level of encryption. So we've done that. That's awesome. We're halfway there. So let's look at the decode. It's a little bit tougher, but it's not bad at all. We're getting a string, of course, passed through it. And now it's time to break that string back up to what it was. So we're going to have a list of strings. So how can we do this? Well, we need to start somewhere. We just have a singular string now. So we can't say for string in strings. We need to start somewhere. So let's have an index, I, and set it equal to 0. We're going to start at the very, very first character of this string. So then let's go, we're going to need a loop to fuel us. So we're going to say, while this index is less than the length of the string. Okay, so while it's less than the length of it. And the reason we can't do a for loop is because this I is going to be adjusted. It's not going to go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. This I is going to be adjusted to where, okay, I've done this first set, and now the I needs to be adjusted to this next set starting off or whatever, to this next little 6 right here or whatever. So we're going to be jumping around a little bit. So we'll say j equal to I, so another thing copying our index here, because what we want to do is we want to get all those digits before we get to our special character. Because it could be 45, it could be 450, it could be whatever, it could be a single digit. So we're going to say while string at index j does not equal that question mark. So while it doesn't equal that question mark, we're in good shape here. And we're in the process of getting our integers for the length. So then we'll just simply say, okay, then j plus equals 1. So our j didn't equal the question mark, so we're going to add another 1 to it because we want this j to be the question mark. And then we're going to come down here once we get out of that while loop. So say we only went in through one time and our j just gets bumped up 1, so we're at the question mark. we want to have everything up until j. So we're going to say length equals, and it needs to be an integer because we're going to utilize that. It needs to be string I through or up until j. String I up until j. So again, that could be 4, it could be 45, it could be whatever. Just up until that question mark are the numbers we want. So then we're going to be able to utilize that integer, and we're going to come here and we're going to say, so this is outside this while loop, but not outside the total while loop. We're going to say res.append, so this is where we're going to append the string, and of course it's going to be a string from j plus 1 because we don't want the question mark. The question mark's not part of it. So we're going to jump in front of that question mark, or jump past that question mark. So you got your j, we're going to jump past it. We're going to say j plus 1, and then we're going to come here and say j plus 1 plus the length is what we want to go up until. So the question mark plus our length of these characters. So of course that'll stop us short of 1, so we will get from here, we'll have, so we're starting at the question mark, or starting just past the question mark, we'll have our length, and it'll get us all the way until that next character. So we'll have all of that, just not have that next digit, I'm sorry, next integer. So come here, close that off, and then we'll simply, all we need to do from there is bump this I up. So what are we going to bump the I up to? Well, we've done all those characters, we know they're part of that string, we don't need to mess with any more of them. So we'll say I equals j plus 1. So j plus 1 is the character past the question mark plus the length. So the length is 4 or 5 or whatever. That's going to jump us past everything and get us to where I should be now. And then we're going to simply get through that entire loop, and we're just going to return the resolution, which is a list of those original strings. So again, the encode, super easy. The decode, a little bit trickier, but not bad at all, guys. As long as you remember, hey, I need some way to be able to tell when a word ends and when it begins, but I'm not going to be able to just use a random character. I need to know the length of this word, and then I can have that character be kind of a spacer. Then you're in good shape, guys, if you just can remember that. So you're encoding, and then you're decoding by just going to that question mark. That's your length of integers, or your length of characters or whatever. Then you're going to just utilize that length to get the string that you should have, and then go to the next start of the next string. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this one was very simple. I think if you work through it one time on your own, you'll think it's very, very, very simple. But hopefully my explanation helped you. If you got a simpler way to do this one or a better way to do this one, please let me know, and we'll just keep grinding these out and keep working on these. Thanks, guys.